Hello, everybody. It's Axel, and today we're gonna have a special guest. Today, I'm gonna be interviewing a content creator. Uh, she's been doing good work, putting out great content for the people to see. And her name is Leslie Powers, one of the content creator of One Great Network. How you doing, Leslie?
I'm doing
Okay.
great. I'm doing great. Thanks, Axel. Thank you for inviting me to be part of your interviews here. It's great.
No problem, no problem. No, I just wanted to interview long time ago with other content creators. So I've been seeing some of your videos and I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask you a few questions, do an interview,
Great.
when possible. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
Your introduction and biography, so people know your background a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I was raised in upstate New York and kind of stepped across the United States in a couple of stages, and I'm now in Northern California. I'm a mother of three. Two of my kids are technically adults. I still have one teenager in my house. I've been a single mom for probably the last 16 years, about almost, 15 or more years. So that's quite a story of its own. And I am a clinical social worker. So I'm trained
Mhm.
in I have a master's in social work, and I've been doing work in the field of mental health and social work for over 30 years. And my most, the last decade, my emphasis has been on psychotherapy with, people with various types of trauma, and depression, anxiety, most of it coming from developmental trauma. And in 2018, I came upon the work of Mark Passio, and it was just a catapult into another level of understanding how the world works and how our mental health is affected through the understanding of natural law and the existence of the dark occult forces. Really, uh, it's very common, I think, in the field of social work for us to be a little bit over trusting and over positive about people and what's going on in the world. And what really had to sink in for me was about the existence of evil, and really accepting that there are people in this world that don't care and that they are deliberately, doing things for their own selfish gain and both monetarily and through for power that are really hurting humanity and setting up, people to become more and more enslaved. This idea that we are, even in this United States that I live in, this land of the free, home of the brave, we are deeply affected by indoctrination and mind control, so that we don't even see the ways we are enslaved. And this enslavement really occurs through the mind and through the experience of trauma and economic pressures, which is creating trauma, and parenting and education and medical systems, so that there's so many systems sort of coalescing together that's affecting the average human being to really lose connection to nature and to their true self. And in our culture, we are not taught about mental health. We're not taught about psychology. We Most people don't understand how the functioning of trauma, or how that affects their bodies or their minds. And so my wheelhouse is really in how mental health meets natural law. And I'm just seeing so much residual effects of trauma in the world that's creating our reality, both individually and collectively. And I hang out my crazy cat here. Sorry. She's bad. I gotta move her. And I think that this traumatization, right, and mind control that's very more subtle, and this more subtle slavery, less overt slavery than most people think of, is the number one barrier to us living in peace and true freedom. And that, really does require a deep understanding of natural law. And that deep understanding really comes through self-work and doing the inner work beyond an intellectual understanding. So that's where my work is focusing in helping people to sort of really open their eyes to the reality of our world and find hope and recognize their own value as human beings, taking responsibility for their own healing and for their choices in the world so that we can all decrease suffering and stop this pattern of evil in the world. Yeah, it's in a nutshell, I guess.
Oh, that's cool. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a family member who is a social worker in the United States, in New York. I just been visiting my family in New York and almost 2 months ago. And it was quite interesting. Yeah. I never been in New York before. I used to live in Texas in the US, but never been in New York. It was interesting. And
Yeah.
she works as a social worker, she told me.
Yeah, that's hard work.
I know I have another colleague at work. She's studying, she's doing I think it's either a bachelor or a master in social worker um, study, and told me about the problem of the society, about discrimination and about many things. She focuses more in mental health and racism
Yeah.
mainly, but obviously people when they talk about people who study or they occupy themselves for of social worker aspect of the society, I would say they all focus on more on the symptoms than rather than the causal factor. Because if they did understand the causal factor, where do all these problems come from, then a lot of people they wouldn't do that kind of job. It's good to help people address the problem of the problem that happening around throughout the society, but you
Yeah.
should know the causes, what actually causes it and why,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then people are gonna have to ask the system, they're gonna have to question the system, they're gonna understand there are evil people who run this planet,
Yeah. And you know what?
psychopath. They,
I've
they,
come,
they themselves um, put a lot of lies and deception to the people, and they make people behave in a certain way. That's what they call social engineers. They engineer the minds and the behavior of people, so they can enslave themselves. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And
And I
create
think,
slavery and immorality throughout the society.
right, for sure. And part of my more recent awakening into this reality is recognizing that social workers themselves, who come into the field very well, most of the time, most of the people come into the field with very good intentions and a true care for human beings. And it's that feminine sort of spirit of care and the desire to alleviate suffering and to help bring, the social work ethics. When you read them, they're really aligned with natural law. It's valuing the individual. It's understanding the rights are of all people are equal and everyone sort of deserves the opportunity to with live freely. However, the social work field is really an indoctrination system because the schools are really training people to work for and on behalf of government
Exactly.
programs.
That's when
Yes.
I want you to explain, which is exactly.
Yeah, and there's a naivete that's really promoted. If you look at like the National Association of Social Workers, it's very politically connected, and they include a lot of political activism as part of like a solution. And it's missing the whole point of that statism and the belief in authority is really the cause of all this inequity. and of the oppression that we're trying to alleviate. So we're like little,
Exactly. The
little mice,
brilliantly said. Yeah.
being conditioned, being reinforced, and taken advantage of in a sense because of our big hearts, right? And usually are willing to bend over backwards without a lot of compensation financially. And we're, held under our own little glass ceiling in this like cycle of repetition. We're participating in this pattern of like overflowing suffering and drowning in it, trying to put band-aids on the little holes in the walls and trying to help individuals, which there is value in relieving suffering for an individual and helping someone um, function better, be more resilient, and definitely healing trauma is a part of that. But it is often really social workers who are thrown into like this kettle of chaos, trying to just like put out fires a lot of the time. That's why I really have shifted more towards the psychotherapy aspect and trying to
Are you
um,
doing therapy? You're
yeah, doing
therapist now.
therapy, because I
Oh,
really
oh,
see that the inner work is key and the alleviating of the effects of trauma, because the trauma and the chronic stress and the survival mode that most of us are living in, especially the impoverished, just keeps people from seeing the bigger picture, because you're just focused on your own survival, closes your world.
exactly. Yeah, which is true because you said it brilliantly. People in a social worker, I would, I would, I would say aspect. Maybe people working in a social worker aspect of the society. I would say they don't understand the causal factor. They think the government is the solution for the
Yeah.
problems that are happening. Instead of helping the individual that understand that they only them can heal themselves, doing a lot of inner work. And it's not easy because then they're gonna have to doubt themselves in the trauma, what happened in their life. It's not easy. And then that may create sort of things in their mind, a lot of problems. And like you said, it's only the people have the power at the end of the day, you know,
Mhm.
to take back their own mind.
Yes.
There's nobody else. I mean, the people think the government, rulership, someone other than you is gonna save you, is gonna do something for you. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
The people, the rulers. This is how the called the powers that be, they are able to control and enslave human beings because they want people to look for external power. They
Yes.
want to externalize power, say, oh, we have to count on them, we have to vote for them, and so they can help us improve the quality of our life. This is what people, the argument they hear in people who believe in so-called human authority and rulership and government. They think that government is there. The actual purpose of government is there to help and improve the lives of the citizens. Okay, that's people who think that way, which is the majority of human beings, are under mind control. This
Yeah.
is how they enslave people. You need to understand the actual and real purpose of government, the rulership, which is to enslave you,
Hmm.
control,
Yeah.
slavery. They have nothing to do with improving your lives and protecting your own rights and guaranteeing security of all citizens. They're there to enslave you. Okay, the people in it working in the media, they're all coming down. They're coming out with, uh, especially the news anchors, the attractive lady or the guy with the two-piece suit, saying that nicely to you. You're smiling to your face, saying that all government is there to help you to protect your rights. The Constitution. When it points of fire, it's a lot of nonsense. They're
Yeah.
there to enslave you. It's not that difficult to understand. It's
Yeah.
just people don't think that way. They
Yes.
don't get it.
Yes.
They
People don't
don't do.
see
They
their
don't do
own.
the own research.
Yeah. And I think that people are I guess you could use the word programmed or raised in such a way to feel dependent on an external authority. You know, that's the process of being in school and being taught to, follow the bell schedule and memorize what they tell you and prepare for the career track that they provide for you. And it sets up this savior mentality as well. And that's where the connection of government to being like a religion comes in, is
Yeah,
it's seeing oneself as small and looking outward to something to save you. And yet that very thing that people are looking to save them is actually binding them and holding them back from fully expressing their freedom and true individual like expression. It's there's a triangulation that you can observe between someone who perceives themselves as, say, a victim of external circumstances and then looking to a rescuer. But when then there's also that third leg of the triangle where there's got to be a villain. And we can see this playing out in our politics and in our social media where there's a bad guy. There's whether it's a race of people or a religion of people or whatever it might be, where they're targeted as the villain that's oppressing an individual, and then the individual's looking to government to rescue them. Let's have more rules, more policies, more laws, right? In some effort to save them and enforce equality, enforce some kind of fair treatment. But in reality, it reflects that people don't have a strong internal like sense of power. My cat, thought I gotta get her down. An
that's okay.
internal locus of control where we start to see the power within us to say yes or no, to participate or not participate, to stand up for ourselves in different ways, to recognize we're not victims. Our history doesn't victimize us. I mean, clearly history is creating discrepancies in classes and things like that. What are your thoughts on, I guess, for especially when it comes to racism, because that's a big topic, right? Where there's
Yeah,
clear
yeah,
history of, chattel
yeah.
slavery or, discrimination against women or the LGBTQ community and all that. There is uh, biases and prejudices and things. What is your sense of how people could shift, right, away from looking to government and policy to solve their problem and back them up, to
I,
something else?
I think it's issue of racism, discrimination throughout history. It all comes down with the difference between right or wrong. Human beings don't know their own rights. They don't know what rights are. They don't know the difference between right or wrong. Moral behavior, morality. That's the problem. That's
Yeah,
the main problem. If people understood what are the rights, what their rights are, then none of this would have happened. They need to understand who owns who controls them, who rules them. They need to understand how the system is set up and the purpose of the system they live in. And who are the so-called social engineers and rulers, their mindset
yeah,
and their goals. We need to be as knowledgeable as they are. These people they have hidden knowledge or occultists. They're not just bankers or politicians or police officers or military or just philanthropists. Those are people who have hidden knowledge. They understand hidden knowledge, hidden laws of how the human mind and psyche really works, and the law of creation, God's law. And less than until then, people don't understand any of this. The problem is going to persist, and it's going to get a lot so bad that people, whenever they're gonna try to stand up to the tyrant, they won't be able to. They're gonna make it very impossible, very difficult for the
yeah,
people to even escape their slavery. And
Yeah.
I think this is where we're heading for
Yeah. Yeah. Very
you
potential
know what I'm
seems to
saying?
be. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like racism, like I said, the tactic of, I'm not saying that because you're a white woman or, people need to understand the different. We're all human, okay? We all have the same rights, okay? True rights. I'm not talking about rights in the term of government. What government gives people to a certain ethnic group or people of a certain background or class of people, it's privileges, okay? That's where you have more relativistic society, which is a society, which is a society based on Satanism. It's a satanic society when people, a group of people have privileges and the other people, a group of people are not treated fairly. They don't have their rights respected, which is the right to remain unarmed and having equal opportunity. And you're not gonna achieve true equality and better treatment of everybody through government, through the system that you live in. Because the system that you live in, that humans are currently living right now, is a system of slavery based on artificial lack. Okay, it's a system very well set up by the elite, so-called elite. I don't even want to call them like the rulers. They view human beings as their slaves. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? These people view humans like a meat farmer views an animal that is about to slaughter at the slaughterhouse. Okay, that's what these people literally view human beings. These people need to understand. People don't get, they don't understand. They think that you're gonna achieve freedom and equality through the system of slavery,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and it
agree with
doesn't work
you.
that way.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They
Totally.
think the man's law, legal rights, or more common law is gonna make the difference. It's gonna help us defeat the tyrants. When in point of fact is the destruction of the system. Replace this system with nothing. Okay, create. You need to have. We don't live in a society based on true freedom, which means an anarchical society.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to hear that. They think the government is there to help people, protect people. That's what the police and the military are there for. When in point of fact, they're not there. They're there to enslave you. You know what I'm saying? That's what you think about them. Because
Yeah. No,
a
I
lot of
think
people,
you're
sadly,
right
they don't
on,
get it.
Axel.
They don't
Yeah.
understand that it's everywhere. The
Yeah.
ignorance.
Yeah. And yeah, to differing degrees, right? And it's some of the more subtle slavery that people just can't, they're not willing to see, right? Because they feel like it's better than it could be, right? It's that
Yeah.
idea of the better, least of two evils or something, you know?
The lesser of the two evil. Yeah, you
Yeah.
hear that it's still evil. Some people say, "Oh, we need to have government. It's a necessary evil." You are a delusional person. Okay,
And I think
it's
you're
still
right
evil.
too. And
Period.
it comes down to the mind, right? It's very much about mentalism. It's about the mind. That is where we need to begin in solutions. It's
Yeah,
the awareness and the it's like the deconstruction. Mark Passio talks about negative knowledge as being the state of most people in the world right now, which means that they have to do more than learn new things, but they have to deconstruct what they already think they know because of the different kinds of worldviews that are perpetuated and the programming that people have received. They're holding on to worldviews that are actually detrimental to freedom.
exactly.
And so we need to start with that awareness for people to open their eyes, become open in their mind and curious and holding back the emotional judgment, right? That is so like automatically embedded in people, but to hold that back, to be curious and open-minded, to look at patterns and to look at history and to really listen and observe what is actually happening rather than to look at things through what they want to believe is happening. There's a lot of delusion going on in how people are
Exactly,
looking at
really
the
very
world.
delusional people. They think that somehow human beings are waking up, don't know what they see, but
Yeah. And then understanding what true morality is, which you've mentioned, what are your rights? And all of our rights are the same. We have the
same.
right and how
That's why in the Constitution, sorry to interrupt, it says unalienable rights. It means inherent to
yes,
creation. Rights are behavior. They don't initiate harm to a sentient being. That's
right.
what rights are.
Yeah.
So somebody who is a sentient being has the right to be unarmed, not to be coerced upon to. That's
Yeah.
what a right is. It's
Yeah.
not that difficult to understand. They know
Yeah.
this. The so-called power that be, they know this. This is how they're able to enslave humans
Yeah.
throughout
To
society. Every single
yeah.
government, a totalitarian government, whether it's democracy or dictatorship, communist dictatorship, fascist, Nazism, whatever the fuck you want. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. It's all different flavor of slavery. And
Right.
dumb people believe that nonsense. Oh no, the Nazi were the good guys because somehow their Führer was trying to go after um, a, a group of people because they somehow they control the monetary system. When in point of fact, it's a revision. It's people thinking, oh, the Allies they were the good guys because they came to save uh, to beat the bad guys known as the Nazis. Don't not understanding they're both puppets. They're
Yes.
controlled by the same people.
Yeah. And
They're the progeny of the cult that runs this planet.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's not difficult to get it.
Yeah, I know it's frustrating when you see it, right? But it takes a bit of work and a process to be able to see these dynamics, unfortunately, because of the mind control that we've all been, most everyone has been raised with. So, I didn't fully get it until quite late in my life. And now I see it everywhere. I see it so clearly. And I think our job is to educate, right? And inspire, but to help teach about, morality and that it comes from a natural force, not from men, not from humans. And and that we all have a natural right to express ourselves in the world and to travel freely in the world without coercion, without threat to our safety, to our body, or, to be trespassed upon or stolen from. And I think most people could really agree with that. But where they're not seeing it is how the coercion and theft and violence is perpetuated by government and really the majority of people who are participating and agreeing with it, right? And sometimes it's not like like when we think of self-defense, it's easier to understand self-defense as someone is attacking me directly. I have the right to protect myself.
To
And
defend
even
yourself, of course.
even with man's law, sometimes self-defense, people who respond in self-defense are still judged wrongly and put in jail. So that's not even that even clear.
Because you live in a more relativistic society
Yeah,
where morality is subjective and
yeah,
it's based on it's based on the whim of right or wrong are basically I would say decided at the whim and preference of the legislator, the people who make
right.
the lawmakers, the government.
And the
Yes, but
interpretation of local judges and the way that lawyers play
exactly.
their games and the money that
More
backs
relativist,
up
yeah.
the rich. And, there's lots of inequities. And I think where it gets complicated, especially here for the United States, because most people kind of feel like they're um, living without direct assault, right? If you're lucky. But what's happening is we have lawmakers and politicians and corporate leaders and that are basically creating policy and procedure or setting in motion laws that are immoral, that are morally relative. And then there's the police or the lawyers and judges who are enforcing it, right? Or the medical providers that are enforcing it, or even the social workers on some level, trying to do good, but feeling obligated to, follow certain procedures that really aren't based in any sense.
Yeah, not based on a true morality. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So
like
how do
you said.
we
Go
address
ahead.
those things that are kind of separated in by degrees, right? And also over time where there might be a delay in time. There's a lot of nuance to this. And I think that that's where, on a very simple level, gaining the knowledge and the understanding comes first so that we can work with our own mind, where we can recognize our own indoctrination and the way we have been mind controlled, to be able to see how we have been traumatized in our life and coerced, and how the rights are being violated through laws and government, directives. And then also to see our history, to look at our ancestry, to look at the collective traumas and the way that that epigenetic memory is really being passed
Yeah,
down
yeah.
to us, right? It's real complicated. So I think the very first step right now for everyone is about gaining the awareness and doing the self work.
Well said, well said. I agree. Gaining the knowledge to understand all of this. And like you said, you asked about racism. I'm gonna answer the question directly. People don't understand race come from. People, they start identify with race, color, not understanding everything that happened from slavery, black slavery, and why some ethnical group throughout history have been always there's been always ethnical cleansing happening in every country throughout the world. Is because it's a social engineering stuff. They want people to fight amongst each other. It's called divide and rule, divide
Yeah.
and conquer strategy.
Yeah.
You through a through dialectics and fight amongst each other. Instead of that's how the rulers stay in power. They want people a fraction of the population to fight amongst each other so they can rule over them.
Yes.
You know,
Yep. And
don't
that
point out
that
the
pattern.
differences. Oh, I'm white, I'm black, so therefore I have more rights and more privileges than you. You know, all this nonsense, all those are artificial. People don't even know that Satanists, a child molester and pedophile, okay, who run this planet. I give you this bullshit. I don't know mindset
Yeah.
uh,
That
that
turn
comes
us against
directly out
each
of
other.
Satanism, a social Darwinistic mindset. There's somehow there are rulers and slaves,
Yeah.
and some people are better than others based on colors and nationality and all of that shit. And
Yeah.
dumb people don't question where all these inequalities and comes
Yeah.
from, which is sad.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
you're
it's
on point.
frustrating,
This divide
you
and
know.
conquer happens at multiple levels. It's happening socially, right? At the social level and the political level. And it's also happening in our mind. So, because that's how the understanding of how trauma affects us is so important, because trauma, chronic stress, it creates compartmentalization within our own minds, where we then have an internal conflict, an internal division. And this then gets expressed out in the world. And so then the social engineers, dark occultists, right? They kind of play off of that, and then they take advantage of those
Yeah,
trauma responses to and fuel it into creating social divisions, right? And so, as above, so below, as within, so without, it's happening and echoing on so many levels of our world. And I think it's like tricking us into we're fighting with each other instead of realizing that we need to work together. Like you
exactly.
said, we're all part of the slave system. There's just like different degrees of
All
slavery.
these are privileges. Yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
those are illusionary things. They're not real rights. I'll speak about the United States as an example, but there are millions of examples. Like during black slavery and segregation and Jim Crow, all of this, people don't know that all people react immediately. Oh, as soon as they see a white person, a black person, or an Asian person, oh, immediately, oh, that person is racist because I don't like it. So because they're brainwashed, they're being taught through books and the programming that certain race of people are evil inherently for what they've done in the past, which is kind of true, but you need to understand that the how I would say the social engineer aspect of that. There are evil psychologists, engineer who created all of this to begin with. There's somehow the ideology or racist ideology, like Charles Darwin and other ones. Look at their connection with the occult orders to tell you that this psychopath they put out to people, this mindset and ideology, some people somehow be based off skin color or the characteristics are better than others. Not
Yeah.
understanding it's all based on an ideology of more relatives. There's some people have better rights than others. When
Yeah.
you point of out, there's no such a thing, you know.
Exactly.
And people
Yeah.
fall for that. They don't get.
Including
They don't get
whoever,
that your owners who
yeah.
rules you
Yeah.
gave
For
you
people to
all
believe
this
that,
mindset.
right? If someone
So you
calls
can
themselves,
enslave yourself. Oh my God, fight amongst each other. When you point of out, you should be angry, upset at the people who are ruling you.
yeah. Yeah.
Those people are the problem, and the idiots who comply to the system as
Yeah.
well.
And if you
You know what
love
I'm saying?
yourself enough, you won't tolerate that. And,
Yeah.
this goes so far
They
back.
don't want to hear that. They want to go to the causal factor or
Yeah.
why the ideology of racism, where does it come from?
Yeah. It's
Who
important to
put
ask
this
why.
ideology from? Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Who
And
put that? Who put that
why are
out?
things
And
happening?
why?
Yeah. And then
Because then they're gonna
continue
understand
digging.
who runs this planet. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I know you're passionate. And it's like, asking the questions and continuing to dig deeper and going back in history. Why would anyone you know, um, become a slave owner, for example?
Yeah, because
What
they've been
happened?
taught that it's good to own other people
Yeah.
because they have a sick mindset
Yeah.
or
And
psychopath. They're thinking I should own other human beings
yeah. And
because they
going
haven't
back.
been taught more true morality and
Yeah.
the difference between right and wrong
Yeah.
and what rights are. Because if people were taught this, nobody would have the mindset, the idea to own other people, and there wouldn't be no government or rulership.
Right.
It's simple as that. It's just
Right.
people are ignorant. They bunch of know nothings walking around the street. They think they know something. They think they have the right to rule over other people. And this shit happens. Racist mindset happens throughout the society. And people who buy the ideology of racism are brainwashed people. They don't understand that all humans have equal rights. Well, true equal rights under the Creator,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Period.
And
Not under the system of man's law.
what
You know
muddies
what I'm
this up
saying?
is materialism.
Yeah.
Materialism
Not
is
that difficult
really
to get it.
involved in this, where the focus of what is valued becomes material wealth, right? Or power. And that goes back in time, that mind control program, right? That we just need to make another dollar and, and losing connection to our spiritual self, that we are spiritual beings. And that spiritual awareness brings an understanding of our interconnectedness and of our true value, the true value of life. And it diminishes that priority of material gain or just seeing ourselves as, just flesh, right? So
Yeah.
it's a spiritual process as well as a psychological and mental one.
Exactly, I
Yeah.
agree. It's because people don't know themselves. They identify with the roles they happen to play in the system. It's
Yes.
called ego identification. I'm black, I'm white.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, I'm brown. You can say darker skin. You're pink. You're not even white, white. You know what I'm saying? White
Yeah.
will be a pale person. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
we all humans. We should fight for the greater common goal, which is true freedom for
Yeah.
everybody. Creating a society based on true freedom where everybody has their own rights respected.
Right. And
There's
that
no
comes
harmful
from
behavior, and when somebody tries to rule over you or try to do a wrong behavior upon you, you have the right to defend yourself. Period. It's not that difficult. And government does you cannot achieve. Here's the problem: humans, unfortunately, they don't understand it because of not only that, they think they can solve the problem by begging the government when in point of fact the government is the problem. They're not there to protect your own rights, to defend you, to helping you. They're there to enslave you. That's what government means. Gubernamental. It means mind control. It's a system of slavery. You have rulers and owners and slaves.
yeah.
That's it. They're
Right.
not gonna. They want the problem to persist so they empower themselves. They come as the savior. Oh, I'm gonna do this so they can bring more legislation to control the slaves and create the problem
Yeah.
based on artificial and false
Like false flag
morality,
and false
which is
flag
more
events,
relativism.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you
There's a
think
lot of
about that? Because
evidence that the government creates the very problems that then
yeah,
the people beg for help with, right? And then they come and pretend they're caring enough to solve the problem by usually enforcing more rules and restrictions and more control. And there are psychological operations that are very well documented in the military that expand out into the world. On Dissolving the Divide, the podcast I do with Derek Bartolicelli, we had a couple of really good shows with Adam. He sometimes goes by Adam Infinitum or Praleka. Adam Alexander, you could find him under, but he really is an expert in psychological operations, and he really has opened up our mind to that and really seeing it as marketing, right? In a way, it's like the same psychological understanding that marketers and salespeople use to convince people to buy products or engage in certain
yeah.
behaviors are being used
Persuasion. They
on
persuade people.
persuasion,
Persuasive. Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's just happening at a much grander scale. So if people can kind of get out of their little blinders, the little circle that they're in, we kind of operate in survival mode and just sort of do the same thing every day to survive. If you can step back and really look at these big patterns, I think that most intelligent people will be able to see what we're talking about. And it's just there's so much confusion out there. Like if you read a book and there's like red herrings, right? When is a term in literature where an author puts in a distraction, where you are trying to figure out what's really going on, but then something comes in and it distracts you and it pulls your attention over here, right? And
Yeah.
that happens in the world all the time. And then we're bombarded with information and all sorts of arguments and disagreements that are fueled in the media and so forth that people don't know what's true anymore. They don't know how to discern truth. And the government comes in and says, well, this is false information, and we're going to block you from access to this person who's telling you wrong things, and people just sort of fall for that instead of questioning why, who has the right to restrict information from me? As a human being, I have the right to use my brain to evaluate all the information that I can possibly access to determine the truth. Caring about the truth is one of the most important elements of this. True care about in life and care about truth. So that's also what we want to cultivate with people is care. Care about what's going on. We all work together can do something to turn the tide of this very oppressive path that we're on as a humanity. And if we don't come together, we're in trouble. It's not going
Exactly.
well.
Yeah, most human beings they don't give a damn about anything. They don't give a shit. The bunch of clowns, uh, unloving, uncaring people. That's what most people are. They're a bunch of no not they're Gollum. Those are the NPC, non-player characters walking down the street. That your owners are dying of laughter every day when they
Yeah.
see you watching, and you think with that kind of mindset you're gonna be free. I'm talking about even the people in the freedom movement. You're
Mhm.
gonna be free. You're gonna people who think they claim to be awake and they're gonna, oh, we're gonna create a system of freedom, a society based on true freedom by voting Donald Trump or a president. Oh,
Yeah.
he's gonna save us. He's gonna be free. He's gonna save us from the nonsense that we are living now. I mean, people think they're a bunch of naive children and clowns. That's what they are. That's
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
best word to describe them. The clown asses. That's
You
what they
know,
are. And
yeah,
there's
and
not telling them. There's not telling them. You can
right.
tell them every time, but they don't get it.
There are a lot of
Yeah, because
people
a
who
lot
are
of people
very,
don't want to come out
yeah,
as an anarchist because then, oh, the guy is an extremist, he's an anarchist. Oh, we don't need no government. Yeah, because most people are a bunch of children. They're not real men. They're not real women. They don't want to live in a society where true responsibility for your own action is gonna be the base for that society to survive and to exist.
yeah. And to give
No, because
people, a
most
little
people don't.
grace.
That's what we have: police, military. We
Yeah,
have service things. A society where people have to do things for you.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a
We are
really deep,
self-dependent on the government, and it's
yeah.
frustrating because
It
people,
is
you think,
frustrating. It's very
especially
frustrating.
the
Yeah.
people, because humans have great potential. They should know all
A
of this.
lot
It's
of
not that
potential.
difficult.
And that's why I do the work I do, because I believe in human potential. I see how untapped our potential is, and that's like using your imagination to see other possibilities than what we're in. And we are in a very deep hole. And it's kind of like we're underground in the dark and we're really far down, and we have to sort of climb ourselves out of it so that we can really kind of, get out of this materialist mindset. And because we've all created traps for ourselves through our ignorance, whether it's, through the decisions that we've made in our individual lives that we've gone along with the program and we've, made stupid decisions. And now we end up in these situations that we have to climb out of. And I think that that's the first step is just for every individual to assess, where are you now? How have you trapped yourself through this materialist kind of satanic mindset? And, to be material oriented, to be complying with immoral directives, to be participating in enslaving other people and violating others' rights, whether you work as a tax agent, or a police officer, or you're in the medical system, doing things that you're told to do that are really proving to be very unsafe, right? We all have to figure out where we are individually in this big mire, this muck of shit that we're in, and bit by bit set some goals, set some small goals to climb out towards your own freedom and into a place where you can help others to climb out too. It's painstaking work, and it all comes down to the individual building the awareness of these principles, seeing the trap that we're in, and then taking responsibility, and making amends really within your own self and with others around how you've been participating in this oppressive system, and then finding your way to disconnect and detach as much as possible. And the truth is, and this is what happens as you start to detach and try to climb out, you get to really see where the shackles are. You clearly see where you're being held in an enslaved
Exactly.
position. And then you realize, whoa, we really are enslaved. And wow, this is harder than it may sound on the surface, but it's going to start here. And with your eyes open and your mind open and your honesty and working with yourself and healing those traumas and ridding yourself of the programs that are keeping you compliant and a participant in this very dangerous ship that we are on. Somehow we've got to turn this ship. Ships turn slowly, right? But the more of us that are working on that turn, that shift, that pivot is going to help. And over time we can build momentum. And then we
Yeah.
have the power. Like if you look at Larkin Rose, he has I think a little video called
Lock and Rose,
Da.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
like there's
greatest.
something
Yeah,
about the
I
Da.
watched some of these video.
Yeah,
Great, great, great video. His YouTube
yeah,
videos.
yeah.
It's telling it like it is.
Yep. Yep. And he makes it visually clear how the people who are controlling the world and controlling our government are a small minority compared to the masses. And yet
Yeah,
they have us so like controlled like a dog, like dogs just to follow them. And if we can see that, we can take back that power through non-compliance and through speaking up, through our communication, through our decisions, through our reclaiming our own natural rights, right? I mean, it's a complicated untangling, but when you understand natural law and you really operate from the standpoint of morality, it becomes clearer how to untangle this tangled web. It helps you determine and discern what is true. It helps you discern what
exactly.
is right. It helps you to see the patterns and um, the complex like almost like mathematical like formulas at play here, among people. So it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, most people don't want to hear the, a lot of people are very apologetic, apologists for humanity. They don't want to hear, look, human beings, they want it this way. The society that we live, this slavery system that we live is because people want it this way. If people didn't want it this way, it would have been this
Yeah.
way.
And
Okay.
why do
And
people want it?
people like me, Leslie, Lack and Rose, David Icke,
Mark
Michael
Passio,
Tessarian,
a lot of
whoever
people on the
researcher,
network. Yeah.
okay, Jordan Maxwell, who passed away, Mark, anybody, we're trying to tell you all of this, not because we are crazy people, we're telling you because we know what's coming, what's happening, and we're telling you to save you, to do something, because we're trying to do something to make it right,
Yes.
because you cannot uh, uh, tell yourself to be a moral human being when there is evil and injustice on this planet and you're doing nothing to stop it.
Yeah.
That makes you an immoral trash. Okay,
Mhm.
because there's evil and you're doing nothing with it to stop
Yeah.
it. There's injustice on this planet and you just let it go. You do
Yeah.
nothing about it.
Yeah. I think
The
people have
worst
a,
crime is not
yeah.
the people who are doing the crime, is the people who see or are seeing or witness the evil that is happening and they refuse to do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I
There is
think,
a beautiful quote. I think it's Edmund Burke. Okay, he was an Irish member of Parliament of the British of the UK in the 18th century. Beautiful quote. One of my favorite quote. Okay, he says it. Something I'm paraphrasing. Okay, let me, because I remember the quote. I'm gonna. Beautiful quotes. Let me. Yeah, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Okay,
Yeah,
beautiful, a great spiritual quote.
yeah,
Not, I'm not a fan of this guy because this guy is a statist. Okay, it was member of the government. So, but nonetheless, the quote, the statement that he said is true.
yeah,
You cannot be consider yourself a good man, a good woman when there is evil and slavery
yeah,
and tyranny and injustice taking place, and you're sitting there up your own ass and doing nothing. You
yeah,
just let it go. This is why we had Nazi Germany. This is why we had
right,
Soviet Russia. We had communism in China and fascism in Italy. You name it. The worst totalitarian dictatorship of the 20th century.
yeah,
Okay, that's what we have. What's happening in Israel
yeah,
and Palestine, bombing, committing a genocide,
yeah,
Palestinian people and the rest of the world and throughout the world. The injustice. That's what we have. Black slavery, say Jim Crow, you name it, ethnic cleansing in every country because people, the bunch of humans are very cowards. Okay, they won't stand up for what's true or what's right,
yeah,
and because
yeah,
of that, evil wins, they
yeah,
triumph.
yeah.
Sadly,
I
because
know.
humans are cowards. They
Yeah.
want they rather do what's convenient for them
Yeah.
instead of for the
Convenience
common
is
good.
definitely one of those things that captured
Yeah, it's
people,
simple as
right?
that. And we're
Yeah.
doing saying this. Sorry to interrupt, and then I'll let you talk. Is because we're not saying that because we wanna be, like I said, be crazy, or we're just conspiracy. No, we're saying that because we know what's coming, and what's coming very soon. You're not gonna like it,
Yeah.
and especially if you have children
Oh
and
my God.
grandchildren, that should worry you.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. It is
you
a
have
crisis
children, you you
situation.
you bring you brought to this world, and there's slavery happening, and you're doing nothing. What are you gonna tell your grandchildren and future generation? They're gonna look back at you, your grandchildren. They're gonna look at the grandfathers and grandmothers. They did nothing. There was even tyranny. Do you want to have? Do you want to have? You want your own children and grandchildren to be having a RDF, uh, RDF a microchip implanted on
Oh,
your
right.
wrist,
Right.
a social credit system? Is that what you want for your children? Having a digital microchip implanted in your chip? Is that the kind of world that you want your children and grandchildren to live in?
Yeah. It's
I
scary.
don't think so.
No.
Okay, if you think, if you want, if it's that's the world that you want for your own children, grandchildren, you deserve slavery. Don't come tomorrow when it happens. Don't come, don't cry, don't protest. Okay, because we told you so. You didn't do nothing. You didn't listen.
Yeah.
The word of the word of wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And our voices are being censored in many ways as well, or discredited,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
right? So that's
It's
the other
because people
challenge.
allow them to censor
Yeah,
them. They're
yeah.
ignorant.
So people need to dig deep. Like, don't just do a very superficial Google search on things. At this point, that will not get you to the information that you need to see. Really, you're going to have to dig deep. This is happening in our world, like, now in this country, the United States, where people really take for granted freedom, right? And not even see how it's being taken from them, and people should be up in really upset about the management of information and the
Yeah,
censorship of people's voices. That is really
absolutely.
fundamental to our freedom, is people having the right to speak, to their own language. And I think that people they're, you could call it cowardice, but it is about fear. People are so afraid to rock the boat. So just that in itself, if you're afraid to, not register your car, for example, or not pay taxes, and that's your motivation, honestly, probably why most people do those things, it's because they're afraid of getting in trouble. They're afraid of getting a fine. They're afraid of getting a jail sentence. They're afraid of being punished. So this is a very like kind of parent-child relationship or authority subject situation that becomes very obvious if you think about it. And what makes this these people who are claiming authority, what makes them have more rights than anyone else? It's not true that they have more rights. They don't have the right to steal money from you or to force you to have a sticker, on your car in order to be able to travel. In nature, in natural law, those are wrongdoings. And
Exactly, arbitrary rights. They don't know, but
yeah,
you when somebody gives you permission to do anything, it means they claim you. They claim your ownership of your body.
yes,
Therefore, you're a slave. It's
yes.
not even a 2 year old child understand this.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that's important to see. But then people may see that, but they're still struggling with this, how do you get out of these shackles, right? Without being hurt. And I think that this is where people are wrestling with as how do we do this? But the more people that are coming together with this knowledge, we have an opportunity to shift without violence, without having to resort to revolution. We don't want that. That's a terrible outcome, that we're more likely to have if people continue to put their heads in the sand and ignore what's going on now.
Yeah, it's going. I agree. Gonna get it's gonna get bloody and a lot worse than it is, folks. What's coming? There's gonna be even the biblical prophecy. They're telling you, although it's a predictive program, they're telling you there's gonna be a common time that human beings, there's gonna freedom is gonna be so destroyed, and people are gonna be so enslaved that they will wish to die, they won't be able to.
Yeah,
That's how evil is gonna be rampant on our midst.
yeah,
Okay, and they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it
yeah,
because human beings, they still don't understand the causal factor.
yeah.
Still to this day, there's plenty of information. There's not even an excuse to be this ignorant. And you know, and like I said, a lot of people are very cowards. They don't speak up, or if they do, they as soon as their mouth open, you can tell a lot of people they know they're bunch of know nothings. Okay,
They're trapped
there's
in
a
their
lot of diarrhea
programming.
coming out of their mouth.
Yeah,
That's how we
yeah,
say.
I know. And I think,
They want to
our,
misguide and dissuade people into look in all of this stuff. They will say
yeah,
into the causal factor because then, oh no, now they're gonna know themselves. So therefore they don't want to be. It seems like humans, they love the system of slavery.
yeah,
Doesn't matter how in your face it is, they still won't say no to it. They love to be enslaved. It's the only species on this planet that love to be enslaved, which is sad.
I
You
think,
know? And
people
if you
are,
want to see your children having
yeah,
R, RDF microchip in your wrist, it's your own problem.
yeah. I think people are attached to what they
RDF,
perceive.
sorry.
What people are attached to what they perceive as bringing them safety and security. And that's built into our physiology, that we seek safety through, often through connection to other people. And because of that dynamic of like parent child, we seek sort of a parent figure, and in a way, we're operating as perpetual children, unfortunately, when we are looking to a politician or a king
Yeah, like
or
children,
a
yeah.
government to solve our problems, we are really standing in the place of a child adult relationship instead of stepping up to be an
Absolutely,
equal
yes.
adult, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
We have psychological and children, like humans are psychological. Human in adults' body are behaving like little children.
yeah,
Okay, bunch of clowns, bunch of children that
yeah.
they are. The
And
way
I
they
think
behave and think.
Yeah,
every
and the
day.
materialism plays into that because if you spent
Yeah.
your whole life like gaining stuff, you get a fancy car, a fancy house, you have your vacations, you have your travel, like people get very, very attached to this. And then when they don't want to see the truth of this because it threatens that. If you have a
Yeah.
job working for a
The
defense
comfort.
company
Yeah.
or something, right? Or you make really big money in a corporation and then you open your eyes to see that it's an immoral company, right? Then people will resort to some denial or ignorance and they'll push it away. And that's very dangerous. And that's the psychological piece that requires the shadow work to be able to see yourself honestly, to feel the discomfort of that and
Yeah.
to believe in something bigger than yourself and bigger than something than your material comfort because we
Absolutely.
can create for our children and children's children a very sustainable world based on morality and natural following and aligning with natural law principles where everyone's needs can be met, right? I mean, I'm not talking about some kind of utopia. I think, but we can move closer to that and we can start to see ourselves as responsible for the outcomes as a whole, for the collective, that it's all of our individual actions that add up to the outcome for all of humanity and taking responsibility for our role in that. Are we going to do nothing and allow this machine to just run over all of humanity, or are we going to do something? Even if you don't think you can do much, if everybody does something, then this ship can turn and we can have a much better future for almost everyone. So yeah, there's still hope, I think. And even with some of the dismal kind of outlook, I feel like when you realize what's right and true and you connect to your own true purpose for being born at this time in history, we have to have to do something to align with what is right, even if that means that we have to give up some of our material comforts and give up some of our favorite addictions in order to be a part of that, a really vital part of history right now that we are in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I fully agree. Great points that you brought. Yeah, if people want their children IDF digits, microchip implant in you, that's on you. But hey, I don't want it. I don't want it to happen to me.
Don't force
That's
other
why I'm doing
people to
something.
get it, right? Like you're bringing up a good point because, why should everybody be forced to do something that they
They
don't
don't
want to
against your
do?
will.
Right. And that's what's happening little by little with all of these rules and regulations and laws. And it's getting tighter and tighter. The screws are getting tighter and tighter. Now, if somebody wants to take they want to take a chip in their arm, if you want to do everything, electronically and never use cash again, like you get to choose that. But just know that if you can choose that, you're working on the side of evil and the reduction of freedom for the collective humanity. And and even if you choose that and you have the right to choose that, you don't have the right to make me. There's so many things where we are put in between a rock and a hard place where we have to make decisions. Are we going to comply? Are we going to do what's convenient in order to get the things that we need in life? Or are we going to say no to that and kind of do what's necessary to hold on to our freedom and our self-respect and help encourage others to join us in this, true alignment with morality and freedom? So we're
Absolutely.
we're here to inspire people and to educate. And I think it's important, at least for my work, because I understand the how deeply entrenched in trauma and the calcification that's occurring in people's minds and bodies, right? That is keeping them stuck. I think, I have compassion as much as I am frustrated. I have compassion, and I also know that that compassion is an inroad to help people to make the changes, to be able to open their minds and to see where they're at and what needs to happen. And it'll take a lot of patience. So we're all kind of like have different roles in this awakening. Some are going to be harder hitting, like Mark Passio, and some are going to be, bring in a different, more soft, feminine, approach, which I think is kind of part of my role here in helping people to look at themselves in a safe kind of container, so that when you wake up to these like harsh realities and you're just like kicking yourself in the ass and you're feeling it's because waking up hurts. Waking up is traumatic. It is disturbing. It's life altering. And so I understand people's resistance, but I want to help make it easier for people and to help them know they're not alone in that, and that there are people willing to help, coax and support them to this place where we can stand in unity against the dark forces, which is what this satanic culture is: dark,
Yeah,
evil.
well said, well said. You brought a point about how the United States is starting a crackdown. The U.S. government is doing a crackdown on information and censorship. I did an interview a few hours ago with Derek.
Mhm.
Um, he told me that he lives he is currently in France, okay, the country of France.
Yeah,
He told me that Rumble is censored
yeah,
in France, and in also other European countries, even worse. Like, really? I didn't know that.
yeah,
And I told him, yeah, even in the UK, um, there's a big a crackdown on information. Some people they get jailed for saying things here. Like
yeah.
worse than Nazi Germany and communist Russia. I mean, it's wow.
Yeah, yeah, no. And I think for Americans, we need to pay attention to what's happening in other parts of the world. As Americans, I think we think we're like immune from all of that, like it's never going to happen to us. But I think that false sense of confidence is dangerous. And it's like the metaphor of the frog in the bottle there the frog in the pot of water on the stove, and you turn on the heat and it just gradually gets hotter and hotter until it's boiling. And that is what you can start to see when you look from the big bird's eye perspective, looking how, like, after 9/11, the types of restrictions that were placed on travel, the type of intrusion into your privacy, the enhanced security requirements, we saw in 2020 with all of
The
the,
Patriot Act, yeah,
yeah. And then, with the medical kind of storyline that happened in 2020 and the pandemic
that
there.
was funny.
It's led to a lot of things have
Yeah.
collapsed. In-person meetings have gone down. A lot of social events, they disappeared. They haven't even come back to full robustness as they were before. People are doing meetings so much more online instead of in
Yeah.
person. Therapies happening online much more than in person. Groups, I mean, so many things. And I think it's really hurting us because people are becoming more isolated, more insulated, um, and the dynamic synergy of people coming together is not happening as much, and that's really vital. Is us coming back together in community and in activities and communication. We are part of each other's healing, because aloneness and isolation is part of, the poison that's really hurting people's morale. It's leading to epidemics of anxiety and depression. There's so many factors that are really affecting people's mental health and making it harder for them to operate from their place of power. their place of autonomy and sovereignty, because the fear is so activated. Yeah,
Yeah, great point. Yeah, like I said, um, if you want help, don't look for government. They're not
right.
there to help you. They're your masters. They're your owners.
Yeah.
That's what people don't want to understand. What would you think? What would you say? Why people don't want to hear the truth? Because well, I know, but why? Why do you think? Why they scared them so much? Because you talked about, yeah, they don't want to lose their comfort zone.
Yeah.
They
I
they
think
don't want to
it's
be uncomfortable.
I think
You
that's
know,
part of it. And I think that people have become again very focused on like immediate gratification, stimulation, dopamine hits, quick fixes, hacks, right? To feel good. People are struggling, and they're seeking comfort and safety and doing it in not conscious ways, automated ways, prescripted ways from, outside in. Look how addictive our phones are, the social media. And then just the economic system, the whole manipulation of money and the creating of classes. And, we get caught up in our survival mode. I'm
like
guilty.
slaves.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
living like slaves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And that's, we're just kind of doing what we're kind of told to do and what we feel like is all we can do. And people are overwhelmed and stressed out. And I think there are a lot of people who care. And there's a lot more people who are starting to become disgruntled with the way things are and are seeing the discrepancies. And those are the people we want to reach. We want to reach the people who are starting to wake up to this reality, to the truth, and then bring them into our work so that they can continue to learn, but also maybe creating safe havens of some kind of community building ourselves, to help people feel like they're not alone in this effort, right? Without being creating exclusive communities. And that's our pitfall, right? We need to be
Yeah. Yeah.
careful. We're not creating these like little, um, closed systems, where we are keeping out other people, we just really have to keep in mind the principles and operate according to principles in our individual selves as much as possible and keep our awareness a reflection of ourselves and how we're interacting with our environment, and to be able to look past our immediate environment into the bigger picture, I think is really important. But I appreciate interviews, these opportunities to talk and the
Yeah. Yeah.
collaborations. I think it's really beautiful to bring people together. And the more that people can see that more and more people are seeing this truth, then they're going to feel safer. So we just have to keep doing this work. And I'm going to have to close up here quite soon. Any final questions or thoughts
No,
before?
I agree. Pretty much everything you said, and a lot of points. You brought many great points. Yeah, it's the people need to back their own minds and sovereignty. They need to stop look for external savior to save them
Yeah,
from their own misery and failures. Because they're not gonna do that. They're not there to help you. Your rulers. They're there to enslave you and rule over you.
yeah,
Because you're nothing more than a slave, a burden for them.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's it.
yeah,
If people understood that you are your own sovereign being, that you own yourself, nobody else owns you, and you don't own other people. I mean, the world will be we will be living in a great world. You know
it
what I'm
opens
saying?
the
In a better
door,
world.
right, to a better world. It's
And I
like the
think it's
first
possible,
date.
but will it happen?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think if everyone could just get that, that truth that you just said, if everyone could see this dynamic of master and slave relationship that is existing as an epidemic across our world, I think that would be so huge. Like hammering, that reality and finding creative ways to help people see it is a really good first step. And so, yeah, thank you for doing the work you're doing, and look forward to
Uh-huh.
interacting with you
It's
more.
a moral obligation. I had to do that because I know all of this. I'm still watching, I'm reading, watching podcasts, still want to learn many things. I don't, it's a moral obligation.
Yes.
I cannot just sit there and then look for people out there who know this stuff and who are not doing anything, you're gonna regret this because look, I don't want to sound like a religious fanatic, okay? Eventually, everybody dies, okay? We know that, okay? Doesn't matter who you are, you're a moral human being, okay? You're gonna die. And we're gonna all be judged for what we did here on this planet, okay? Whether you did good things or bad things, there's gonna be. I'm very sure. I don't believe necessarily with the religious nonsense that we've been be given that religion about the afterlife. I don't think about everything that we do. The lesson we're here to learn lessons, and create good things for to help ourselves and other people. Okay, to create freedom from every being living on this planet and learn lesson and teach other people moral values and etc. And you're gonna be regretting this. You did nothing. There was evil rampant on your society, and you're gonna be asked, "What did you do? Did you do? Did you do? Did you stand up for yourself? Did you speak up against evil and slavery? Did you call the? Did you try to morally educate other people? You did none of this, and you think you're not gonna like the consequences for because yeah, these people are psychopaths, the evil people, yeah, and they're in power because we're letting them be in power. It's our fault
Yeah. Comes
because
down
we
to
are
cause
very
and effect.
cowards as a society. We're not brave enough to
Yeah.
stop them. That's why these people they are the rulers of humanity for millennia,
Yeah.
for thousands of years of being the slave owners of human beings.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
why is that? People need to ask that. Why is that?
Right.
Eh,
Yeah.
Ask yourself this, and then you'll get it. And then you're gonna sit down and look yourself in the mirror and think about this.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to do that.
And
I
project
don't
if
care
this
myself. I don't care. I'm gonna do what I can.
do what is
What I
right.
can. I don't expect to fix it because I cannot. One person cannot do anything.
Yeah. It's all of
Okay,
our
so
work together. And I think that in that same line of thinking that you're describing, we need to think about the effects on the generations that'll come after us, as in the Native American viewpoint of think 7 generations. What is the impact, the effect on the children in the future from what we're doing now with the trends that are happening now? What is the outcome? So we have to take that to heart, and we need to take responsibility for the experience of the children that are not yet born. And that means being honest with ourselves and with each other and being brave and doing something. So I guess that's probably a good place to end.
absolutely. It was a great interview. Thank you for coming in. Really appreciate it. Sometimes interview like this, doing video sometimes alleviates and the frustration. I wouldn't say I'm able to let things out.
Yes.
It's a catharsis. All the anger and the injustice that I see every day, let it all out and explain people why it's wrong. It's
Yeah.
I'm challenging my own the rage and anger
Yes.
towards people when I do this video and interviews
In a
because it needs
healthy
to
way, in a healthy way
in
that
a healthy
causes
way.
no
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
harm to
Because it needs to
anyone.
be said.
Yes, and
You
it
know
may
what I'm
wake
saying?
some people up because people have cognitive dissonance. They're holding two contradictory ideas in their head and allowing it. And so it's this passion, I think, and this calling it out, this Mark Passio style, right? That I think can break some of those rigid, calcified compartments, that people are holding on to, and they can feel a little uncomfortable, and that's okay. We need to feel uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just want to, encourage people to, if you're interested in checking out any more of my work, I have a,
Okay.
website called AliveThrive.life.
That's it.
I'm
Okay, no
part of
problem.
a really cool uh, podcast called Dissolving the Divide. You can find that on YouTube, on Odyssey. I have a Rumble page with that on it, and then I do some work on a podcast called Girls Club with a few other wonderful ladies, and we bring up these issues as well. Have a lot of stuff in the works. I have a brand new series that I'm doing with three other people: Corey Enderlaw, Stephanie Mo Davis, and Scott Gordon. We call it Health Revealed.
Corey, hey, say
Yeah,
hi
we're
to him.
going.
I need to catch up with
Yeah,
Corey.
contact him. We're doing a really in-depth view of the healthcare system and its connection to statism. It's very groundbreaking. The first two episodes are out now, so I want people to check out that. There's so much good work out there. Check out the One Great Work Network. Check out
Okay.
Chris Jansen's podcast. He does End Evil podcast every Thursday night live. He's been
Yeah,
one of
no
the most
problem.
consistent
I
people.
want to speak to him very soon. I'll probably try to
Yeah.
get him on doing an interview with them with Chris. I wanted to do it a long time ago, but I always forget because so much to do.
Yeah, no, bit
Um,
by bit, we're just going to keep plugging away, and we're going to know that our actions have impact in the world, and it's moving
yeah,
in the direction of what's right and good. So I appreciate being
yeah. So
here.
this is where they can find you on on this website that you just mentioned. Okay,
Yes,
no
yes.
problem, no problem.
All righty.
Ah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah,
That was
thank you,
good anyway.
Axel. So appreciate
No
it.
problem, no problem.